In this remarkable piece of work, we witness the story of Rick, a soldier who signs for a mission to another planet named Titan. In order to prevent human extinction, a scientist thinks of evolving humans into a new species to adopt the atmosphere of the new planet. For this task, a few volunteers are selected, but only one of them named. Rick survives till the end and is sent to the new planet. Who is Rick? How he survives all the horrible changes, and what happens to the rest of his fellows? Let's watch and find out. Hello and welcome to I Am Movies. The movie begins in 2048 with the military pilot, Rick, who is moving to a new house with his wife, Abigail, and son, Lucas. The house is given to Rick in return for his selection for a special mission assigned by the military. On his way, he listens to the news reporting about the changes caused by the atomic bombing in the Pacific, where many regions, including Los Angeles, have been declared uninhabitable and people have been shifted to safe places.
The National Guard, the federal government's already struggling to keep up with.
Rick and his family are received by Freya, who is the worker for the program for which Rick has been selected. Freya guides them around the base while the colonel drives the car and informs Rick that their location is very confidential, which is why communication with the outside world is minimal. Eventually, they arrive at their new home, and Rick and Abigail are stunned to see the luxurious house. Freya leaves, asking Abigail to call her whenever she needs. The next day, a man named Professor Collingwood comes to Rick, and Abigail welcomes him, praising his work. Rick is very thankful and proud to be selected for the mission, and Collingwood warns him about the risks. Abigail accompanies Collingwood to the gate when he appreciates Abigail for sacrificing her career as a doctor for her husband. From their conversation, we learn that Rick is a pilot and has survived Sahara for 3 days without food or water. In the next scene, Collingwood gives a briefing to Rick and his fellows about the mission, in which he claims that within a few years 90% of the Earth's cities will be uninhabitable, and that to save their next generation there is only one hope, and that is Titan, the largest moon of the planet Saturn. He adds that Titan's climate is somewhat favorable to maintaining life, although it contains liquid methane and nitrogen in excess. For this mission, Rick and his friends will be given a treatment that will enable them to withstand the Titan atmosphere. In simple words, they will be force evolved for Titan's climate. One of the participants, Dr. Hernandez, raises a few questions and doubts the program, to which Collingwood replies, and when he fails to satisfy him, Rick interferes by making them recall that they are doing this for their next generation. Rick, Tally, Hernandez, Timothy, Ramos, Zane, and Anton are the participants that are selected for the mission and are led to the next step. Freya begins Rick's treatment and explains to him that he will have to survive in a climate containing 90% nitrogen and that she will be injecting him 300 times within the next 3 weeks. On the other hand, Abigail meets the families of other volunteers with Rick and spends some time with him whenever she gets a chance during his treatment. Within a few days, the volunteers get discharged for a few days, and Abigail arranges a dinner for them and shares a few drinks with them. Rick and the other boys are together when he questions Hernandez about the reason for joining the program, and he replies that he would have been guilty otherwise. Anton then warns everyone that the mission they are on is only one way and there will be no way back, as he is well aware of people like Collingwood. No one believes him, and Rick gets distracted and dances with his wife. Later that night, Abigail is drunk, and when Rick tries to help her, he weakens and falls due to a high temperature. Abigail regains her senses and gives him medicine. The next day, Rick competes and defeats Tally in a competition to breathe underwater without oxygen. Rick sets a new record for staying under the water for more than 40 minutes and swims like a superhuman, which makes Collingwood happy. He becomes excited that his experiment is working and that they will be successful in their mission. In the evening, Rick swims with his family, and after putting Lucas to bed, he returns to Abigail, who is waiting for him in the pool. The duo gets closer to each other, and when Rick kisses Abigail passionately, she gets scared after noticing some changes in Rick's body. But Rick does not pay attention. Rick is at the lab for his treatment when Zane's wife visits Abigail and reveals that she is concerned about her husband and prays for him a lot. Abigail encourages her while Rick and other volunteers are at the lab and swim in the liquid methane under Collingwood's invigilation. They participate in different activities, and at the end, Rick finds Tally scared in the pool. Upon questioning, she reveals that the cold water hurts her, and Rick motivates her and brings her under the water to sit in front of him. At night, Abigail awakens and learns Rick is not in bed. She turns the AC off and finds him in the kitchen. Upon learning that Rick is feeling hot, Abigail prepares a bucket of cold water and Rick shows her how he does not feel cold. After that, Rick leads Abigail to a beautiful location and claims that they cannot save their planet. Following that, Rick and others are getting fresh at the lab when he notices hair fall, and Tally also confirms that she is having the same problem. They are busy making fun of each other when they listen to Ramos screaming. As they rush to help her, they are thrilled to find her convulsing and dying in front of their eyes. Rick and other volunteers gather at Rick's house and discuss how they have been lied to. Zane, who is very nervous, proclaims that they are going to the mission together. But Anton states that only one or two of them will survive for the success of the program, while the rest will die. Zane says that they were not told about the chances of their deaths, but Rick states that they were aware of the risks. After Zane leaves, Abigail joins Rick and his friends, and she is scared to notice changes in their bodies. Suddenly, everyone gets distracted when Zane hits his wife and is afraid. But Rick and his friends comfort him and ensure his safety. The following day, Freya arrives at Rick's house for the treatment, but this time Abigail accompanies them. Before Freya may continue the treatment, Abigail questions her about the composition of the medicines and gets confused after learning about the wrong amount of medicine given by the wrong route. She insists on talking to Collingwood, but Freya tells her that he is busy. Rick spends the night throwing up blood in the washroom, and after he is done, Abigail collects a sample and saves it. She is walking around the house thinking about Rick when she spots the cameras in the walls and gets infuriated. The next day, Abigail checks Rick's blood sample and finds something dark overtaking his blood. Meanwhile, Rick is at the lab, and Collingwood performs surgery on his eyes, stating that increasing the number of rod cells by 8 times will enable him to see in the darkness. Rick spends the rest of his day with his eyes covered, and at night, he feels immense pain, due to which he is brought to the hospital. Abigail is ordered to stay away from Rick when she encounters Collingwood, and she disrespects him by calling him a liar. Abigail claims that there is something alive inside her husband.
There is something alive inside of him
that is overpowering him, and he is trying to hide the reality of the program from them. Collingwood calms her and orders her to leave, as Rick needs him and claims that his blindness is temporary. Abigail leaves sadly, and she is at home when she listens to sirens and comes out. Upon checking, she finds soldiers outside Zane's house and notices that the kids have been rescued. Abigail insists on going inside, but she is stopped. Suddenly, Zane throws out the dead body of his wife, and Abigail gets scared of watching him die and change into a horrible creature. In the following scene, Colonel Saloni comes to Collingwood, after which he is led to a meeting room. Dr. Blake from NASA gets mad at Collingwood for conducting his unproven research and lying to the volunteers. He adds that they are thinking of shutting them down as their victims are turning violent and a threat to human beings. Collingwood doesn't take the warning seriously and replies that Mr. Blake has lost the right to fund them. When Colonel Saloni orders Collingwood to leave his base, Colonel Peterson from the Pentagon favors Collingwood and makes Saloni leave. At the same time, Abigail is at the lab when she gets a chance and sneaks into Collingwood's office. She checks the files of Ramos and Zane and discovers that Collingwood is trying to make a new species of humans, Homo titanians, by incorporating animal DNA. When Collingwood comes to see Rick and informs him about his last surgery, Abigail loses her calm and proclaims that she cannot let him turn her husband into an animal. She also reveals to Rick that he is creating a new species by evolving them. Collingwood admits everything and states that they have no other option but to keep moving forward. He warns her that if he does not get his surgery, he will die in the next 72 hours after losing his emotional control.
That if Rick doesn't have surgery, and in 72 hours he will be dead.
After Abigail leaves them angrily, Collingwood informs Rick that he has faith in him and that he will survive this all. Rick then tries to talk to Abigail, but she does not listen to him. After a few hours, Rick gets his eyesight back, and he contacts Collingwood to continue the treatment as he can see in the darkness now. Rick and others are taken for the surgery, but unfortunately, only Rick and Tally survive the procedure. Collingwood contacts Abigail, breaks the good news of Rick's survival to her, and calls her to come and see him. Abigail and Lucas arrive at the lab to see Rick, and they are stunned to see him completely transformed into a Titan. Rick gets closer to the mirror, and Collingwood informs Abigail that it's still Rick, and he speaks at a lower frequency now that normal humans can't detect. Collingwood allows Tally and Rick to spend a few days with their families. Rick is trying to wear his shirt when Abigail helps him, and she ends up getting hit and scared. After that, she puts Lucas to bed and approaches Rick at the pool when she notices someone's presence in the house. Abigail goes down the stairs and hides after looking at Tally with her hands covered in blood. She approaches Rick and shows him her hands, indicating that she has killed her husband. After a while, soldiers arrive at Rick's home, following the tracks of Tally. Tally gets killed when she decides to fight back instead of giving up, and Rick gets scared. He kills all of the soldiers and runs away when Abigail and Lucas spot him. Abigail hides Lucas and rushes to the location they saw together. Abigail assures Rick that everything is fine, and when he approaches her, she hugs and kisses him, after which a helicopter captures them. Abigail reopens her eyes in the hospital and finds Collingwood by her bed, who tells her that she must not have run and that now they have captured Rick. He requests Abigail to help him send Rick to Titan, otherwise they will get him killed and their program will fail. Abigail agrees and is taken to the location where Rick is kept. Collingwood suggests her to help him inject a chemical that will make him forget his memories, as he is already attached to many things on Earth. Abigail becomes concerned that he will forget her and Lucas, and switches the injection smartly. She gets closer to Rick and injects him with the chemical, after which she leaves with Freya and Lucas. As Colonel Peterson approaches Rick to take him away, he reopens his eyes and kills everyone. Freya leads them to the way out while Rick fights and kills all the soldiers. After a while, Colonel Saloni arrives there with his men and holds Abigail and Freya at gunpoint when they try to protect Rick. Collingwood is also present and starts to manipulate Saloni and his soldiers to kill Rick and his family, as he has made him, and he knows that Rick is now a danger to mankind.
I made him! But if we can't control him, all of us are dead.
Saloni comprehends his trick and orders his soldiers to point their guns at Collingwood, rather than killing unarmed women and a kid. Abigail and Lucas return to Rick and hug him. In the following scene, Abigail is seen working at the lab because she has replaced Collingwood. And then Lucas comes to meet her after school, and the duo comes out of the lab to look at the sky. On the other hand, Lucas has been sent to Titan, and he has adopted its atmosphere as Titanian. He spreads his wings and flies away. That brings us to the end of this recap. If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe to see more videos like this, and make sure to turn on your notifications for updates. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.